Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video's been a while coming, and it actually is an extension or follows up with the previous video that I did, which was the unboxing or the uncasing of my Gibson Les Paul Classic. And in that last video, I had the guitar paired up with a Line 6 Spider V120 MK2 amp. I was really excited about that amp, but I had to take it back and get a refund. Now, let me explain what happened. First of all, I have nothing bad to say about that particular amp. I really like it. I was kind of saddened to take it back. But if you recall in my previous video, one of the things that I said and that I've always believed is if you can buy musical equipment, especially if it's pricey, at a retail store, it's always better, in my opinion. You get the hands-on experience, especially like with a guitar. Plus, if something happens or you change your mind, you can take it back, which is exactly what I did with that Spider amp. I took it right back to Guitar Center, got a full refund. So what happened was, I happened to be in the store getting a cable, and my buddy there started talking to me about this guy right here, which is Positive Grid Spark Live amp and PA system. And he said, "Hey, by the way, have you heard that we've got these amps now? They're brand new, and they're shipping out now to the United States. We can start shipping them." And so we started talking about it, and I started checking out some of the features that it had, and I said, you know what? I think this is the amp for me. And so I ended up returning the Line 6 Spider amp, and I'm kind of glad I did, because I've had this now for a couple of days, and even though I want to call it an unboxing, there are a couple of things that I need to mention about this amp, and one of them is the Positive Grid folks recommend that you download the latest firmware as soon as you get the amp. And so rather than do that during the unboxing, I went ahead and got it out of the box, downloaded the firmware, and got the amp set up and ready to go. I've had it for a couple of days, and so I've kind of been playing around with it, because that was the other thing. I didn't really want to talk about it and not know how anything worked. So I've had it for a couple of days. I've learned a few things. I've learned it's a lot more complicated than I initially thought it was. And so that brings up a good point, because there's a couple of things that would make me hesitate in buying this amp if I hadn't gotten a demo on it when I happened to be in the store. So the two things that I'm kind of leery about, one is the technology. So look, if you're an older person like me, you just want to plug your guitar into an amp and take off, right? And it'll do what it'll do. That's why you buy good amps. And I get that, because downloading the firmware, I retired recently, but I spent 25, 30 years working with computers. I mean, using them in my workplace, in the office. I was familiar with them. I was familiar with having to download software and do things like that. And even then, it can get a little bit frustrating sometimes. So I get it if you're just not that comfortable with computers. The other thing is, and by the way, you need a computer to download the firmware. I did it off my laptop. The other thing is, in order to get, I guess, your return on investment, so to speak, on this type of equipment, you really do have to use the software. And that brings me into the second issue that I started experiencing, because you can put it on your cell phone, and I do have the app for Positive Grid Spark on my cell phone, but I also put it on a tablet. It's just easier, it's bigger, you can maneuver it better. But one of the things I realized is, depending on, this is a Galaxy Tab, and I've only had it a year and a half, so it's not that old, but it's slow, probably because I need more memory space. So, but it's slow, and I don't know if it's the tablet or I don't know if it's the Positive Grid app, but the app tends to freeze up. So that's the second thing I'm concerned about. You know, one is, are you technology and savvy and you're okay with downloading and uploading and all that stuff? And the second thing is, can you imagine if you're using it in a gig and you're playing and the app freezes up and all of your sound settings for your guitar and your mic freeze? Now, I don't know if that happens or if it's happened to anybody out there that's got a positive grid amp. You know, they've got some that are smaller. This is the latest and the greatest thing, I guess. So those two things kind of make me leery. But even so, I see the benefit in having this, and we'll talk a little bit about it in a minute. But that's really why I decided to go with this amp. It suits my purpose. And so that's the main thing that I wanted to say. And so I've got it plugged in. Now, at this point, I only have it plugged into the guitar. I have the Bluetooth off because that's how you connect to the amp, through Bluetooth. I have it off right now. So the only thing I've got going on is I've got it plugged in to the Spark Grid Live amp. And I guess the closest thing that I could compare this amp to, with the features that it has and what it can do, would be to something like the Roland Cube Street X, because they're similar in price. So I think on the Cube Street X, you're looking at about $599. I paid $549, so $50 less for this one. Now understand though, the Cube is only a 50-watt amp. This is 150 watts. And so you've got to weigh that. Now, neither one come with a battery. This is battery operated also. As a matter of fact, right now I don't have it plugged into the AC power. It's strictly running off the rechargeable battery that I ordered along with it. Now the rechargeable battery was $79. And so I was able to get a deal on it and I got a little bit of a discount, but still you got to consider that. But the Cube also doesn't come with batteries. You got to buy the batteries. And you're either going to buy the disposable type and you're going to be buying batteries all your life or the life of the amp, or you can buy the rechargeable type, which are more expensive, obviously. So again, this is battery operated. It's portable. You can certainly use it for busking. But with the additional power that it has, you can definitely use it small gigs, no problem. Medium-sized gigs, no problem. You get into the larger gigs, it depends. Now, I know Positive Grid will tell you that you can use it for large gigs. Your mileage will vary. It depends. How large is the gig? Is it inside? Is it outside? Is there ambient noise? All that good stuff that can affect any amp, right? So it is 150 watts. Again, as I said, your mileage will vary on how large of an event. Do you have a full piece band? Is it just you and a bass player? Or do you have the drum set also? I mean, all these things play right into that. But certainly for busking and for small gigs and medium gigs, this has got you covered. It's more than adequate. It is super loud. But one of the things I've discovered, it's not just about an amp being loud, right? It's about the quality that you're getting. So I do notice that it's got small speakers. I think they're 8-inch. You can look at the stats and see, but they're small speakers. They're loud, but you get a small sound, in my opinion, versus a larger, like a 12-inch speaker. Anyway, that's just my on 2 days worth of playing it, right? That's what I've noticed. But it is plenty loud enough, believe me. You can hear it across the street, no problem. So now on the front of the amp, and by the way, I kind of like the grill. It's kind of a retro style grill. I like it. And so the front of the amp basically are for your channel 1 or your input 1, which is where your guitar goes. It's a 1/4 inch input. It's got 4 presets. And this, to me, is where you can think of this as a very traditional amp, in that you don't have to use the apps. If you're not comfortable with that, or you're wondering, well, can I just use the amp on its own? Yes, you can. And here's the thing, you can set it up. So you got 4 presets, but when you press in the knob, you get an additional 4. So in reality, you have 8 different presets or 8 different tones. Now for most of us, I mean, unless you're a professional and you play a lot of different types of gigs, for most of us, 8 different tones on one guitar. By the way, that's not even messing yet with your selector, right? That's just the amp. For most of us, 8 different tones is going to be more than enough. And just to give you an idea, now of course I don't have a microphone, so the sound you're hearing is just straight through the cell phone. So right now I have it on the clean setting. Okay, so it's a very bright, very clean setting. And if I go to the next channel, I've got a little more bluesy. It's a thicker, fuller sound in my opinion. So that's the second. So I've already got 2 settings that I like, that if I'm playing, a gig, I can just, without using the app, I can simply just change the dial here right on the front of the amp. I can change the dial here and get the different sounds. Now if I want to go on the 3rd channel, I got to watch the volume because this one has a little more crunch. Well, it's got a lot more crunch, right? So you get the idea, but that has a lot more crunch to it. So now I've got a very bright channel. I've got a little more of a blues, a little bit of crunch channel, and then I get into this one, which is just a full onset crunch, right? And then I've still got a fourth setting, which is more like a guitar, like an acoustic. Check this out. So again, that's 4 different sounds, tones, each one unique in the sound that it gives and the kind of music you want to play, right on the front of the amplifier. So I really like that. Remember, I said if you press the button in, you get another 4. So, but for me, I'm finding out that pretty much everything I play, I can play on those 4 settings. Now, at some point, and by the way, I didn't mention, but on the microphone setting in the back, so you have an XLR and 1/4 inch right here. I have my mic plugged into that. You can do the same thing. It's got 4 presets. You press the button in, it's got 4 more. And you can do all kinds of things with the mic. You can even do, of course you've got your reverbs and your delays and your chorus function and things like that. But you can also do, I forgot what it's called, but it basically models your voice, like a cloner, I guess that's what it's called, or a clone, so that you double your voice. It's not really a harmony. It doesn't, it's not like an octave higher or lower or anything like that. It just doubles your voice, but it does add that effect. So like if you're going to sing a chorus in a song, you can hit that and it'll sound like there's 2 people singing the chorus, right? Which sounds kind of nice. And you can program that onto a foot control, which I also ordered from Spark. And so let's say I have this one set to double the mic, then I stomp on it and there you go. So you can toggle that on and off. You can use this for the guitar as well, to channel through the settings if that's what you wanted to do, instead of having to reach over and change them. So I kind of like that. So this is what I'm explaining to you are the main reasons why I decided to go with this guy. And I really like it. Positive Grid Spark Live, 150 watt, portable. I mean, you can't beat that. Now, at this point, I'm just kind of going over, and you still have some of the same settings you'd have on other amps. You've got the gain, which I haven't even messed with the gain. Like I said, everything that I did just with these presets, as far as changing the tone on the guitar. I haven't even gotten into this yet, but you've got gain, bass, mid, treble, and you've got the guitar volume right on the front. You've also got a music volume, because you can Bluetooth, say your cell phone or your tablet, iPad, whatever, right into this, and you can play music. And I did try that. Sounds really good, actually. So if you've got Spotify, Pandora, anything like that, you can Bluetooth into this and play music on it, and it sounds fabulous. That opens up a whole new area of possibilities. You can take it to a picnic or whatever, and because it's battery operated, and have music. Now they say, the Positive Grid folks say, that you get about 8 hours use on a fully charged battery. I don't know, but I mean, honestly, even if I got 4 hours, I'd be happy with that, because most of the times when I practice, or if a buddy comes over and we play a little bit, it's not going to be for 4 or 5 hours. It's an hour or two at the most. And if I am doing a gig somewhere, I'm lucky to get an hour, right? Most of the times, the venue won't give you more than an hour. I think 3 for me. One time I played a 3-hour gig, which was the max. So, like I said, even if I got 4 hours out of this, I'd be happy with that. You always take the AC cord with you as a backup anyway, right? So that's kind of the front, and I have it on a speaker stand. The amplifier has a preset hole in it, 35 millimeter, which accepts most speaker stands. I had this one laying around, and I just decided to put it here. I do feel you get better sound than when it's on the ground, although it does have in the back a kickstand, so that you could put it on the ground, pull out this kickstand, it extends a little bit, and it'll tilt back, which kind of projects the sound a little bit better. But again, I still think it's better if you put it on a speaker stand. It just sounds better. So on the back of the amp, and again, you can see I don't have it connected right now. It's solely off the battery. But on the back, you do have on channel or input number 2, you do have an XLR combination 1/4 inch input, where you can get a mic plugged into it. You've also got an input 3 and an input 4, and they're 1/4 inch cables as well. So you could plug in a bass guitar, you could plug in a keyboard, another mic. Now, the channel 3 and channel 4 do not have effects changes right on here. All you have is just the volume. But that being said, that's 4 inputs, and to me, that's more than I would ever need anyway. And then you've got your master control here, low, mid, high, and master volume control. You've got a couple of line outputs, which I think is really helpful on any amp, because if you wanted to plug into bigger sound, obviously, front of the house sound or anything like that, then you've got the ability to do that with this amp. So that to me is a very good feature to have. And then you've got a couple of MIDI in and out. You've got your USB-C data port. You've also got a charging output port here. You've got your headphone jack and your pairing button. And that's basically it. Your battery goes in here. It's very simple. You just unscrew this and pull out the cover, put the battery in there, screw it back on, you're ready to go. So that is pretty much, and then you've got a nice carry handle here also. That's pretty much the amp. Hopefully you were able to hear the sound good enough so you can kind of get an idea. It is, as I said, super loud. Now, haven't even touched on the app yet. So, and to me, that's a whole other video on how to use the app, what you can do with the app, so on and so forth. And I'm not well versed yet to be able to go over that. But it's enough for now to be able to tell you that you do have, I think they call it quick jam and super jam. So, and I was playing with it a little bit, but not enough to show you yet. But basically, you can play a riff like a 12 on your standard 12-bar riff, right? And it'll listen to you play, and then it will automatically add drums and bass. And it, I mean, on first try, it sounded great, but I really need to get into it a little bit more, see what more I can do with that. You've also got a whole bunch of preloaded software on the app, and it has a lot of backing tracks from blues to rock to jazz to metal. You can also do a search function and look for a particular song. I looked for one just to try it. A Good-Hearted Woman with Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. It found it. It takes a few seconds to analyze it. It shows you, it gives you different options. Some will just show you the chords of the song. So if you wanted to learn the chords, others show you the chords and the lyric, and that's a good thing as well. So I'm kind of messing with that to see what I can get out of that. But there are an awful lot of things that you can do with the app. On this video, I didn't want to get into all of that. I really just wanted to say this is the bare bones amp, and this is what you can do with the bare bones amp compared to, for example, the Line 6 Spider that I had, as well as the Roland Cube Street X. I really do feel for what you pay and what you get, this is a better amp. The sound is absolutely wonderful. And by the way, I didn't even go over again on the app how many different amplifier sounds and amplifier types you can load onto your presets. It's ridiculous. I mean, they literally say there's thousands of tones out there. So, and you can also customize them, save them to the cloud, and other people can use, and you can use other people's tones. It's just absolutely phenomenal, the different sounds you can get with this so far. I'm really liking it. The two negatives, as I said, are yes, it can be challenging to learn it, certainly to master it. And then you also have to be a little bit tech savvy enough to know and be able to manipulate it when things go wrong, because they will go wrong. So for me, what I'm thinking is I'm going to use it for practicing and making myself a better guitar player, a better singer. But when I actually play a live gig, it's just going to be like this. I've got enough that I can do with the amp bare bones, and it'll still sound absolutely wonderful. Anyway, there it is. Part 2, if you will, of the Gibson and pairing it with an amp. This is it. I love it. I love the sound. And I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, be even better. And let me know your thoughts on the Spark Live or on the Gibson and the pair. We'll talk to you in the next video. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.